Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this tutorial series, we are creating this mega menu using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now, in the previous video, we completed designing the mega menu for the desktop version. Now in this video, I'll show you how to create a mega menu for the mobile version. So now if you decrease the width of this browser window, this is how it looks. So it doesn't look good on a smaller screen. So let's go ahead and create a mega menu for mobile devices. Now there are two approaches of doing this. The first one is that you can turn this exact same menu into a mobile version by changing some CSS and changing the styles. Now this can be done with simpler menus, but this is a mega menu. So what we will do is we will use the second approach, which is we will create a new mega menu altogether and we will style it differently for the mobile version. And when we are on a smaller screen, we'll just hide this menu from here and we'll display the mobile version. And when we are on larger screens, we'll just hide the mobile version and we'll just display this desktop version. So let's get started. Right, so here I'm in the source code of our mega menu, and if we take a look at this, we have this outer division which has this class of mega menu container, and in that we have this nav. Now this is for the desktop version, so we can just fold this by clicking on this arrow. So this nav is basically for the desktop version. Now let's copy this exact same menu from here and let's copy it down here. So I'll just paste it over here. Before that, I'll just create a comment. I'll just type end of desktop menu. And here let's paste the exact same nav. Right, so here I have pasted the nav, and let's go ahead and give it a different class. Now for this nav, we have a class of mega menu. Now for the mobile version, let's add a class of mega menu mobile. So now if you go back to our browser and if you scroll up, we can see that the mega menu for mobile version is displayed over here. So we have two menus over here now. Now let's go ahead and go to the style.css file and let's add a media query. So here I'll just type @media and let's set the max width to 640 pixels. So now whatever styles we write inside this block will be added to our website when the browser width is less than 640 pixels. So here let's go ahead and hide the desktop version. So for the desktop version, we have this nav with the class of mega menu. So here let's type mega menu and let's set the display to none. And now we can see that the desktop nav is not being displayed. Now when we are on larger screens, we need to hide the mobile nav menu. So here we have this class of mega menu mobile. So here before this media query, let's type mega menu mobile. And let's set the display to none. And here in the media query, let's go ahead and type mega menu mobile and let's set the display to block. So now we can see when we are on smaller screens, we have the mobile nav menu displayed, and if we increase the browser width, now we have the desktop version displayed. So let's decrease the browser width again and let's go ahead and start styling this. Now before styling this, let's go ahead and add an icon over here, so that when we click on the icon, we want all the nav menus to be displayed for mobile version. And we will also add a logo. So let's go back to our index.html file. And here inside this nav, just before the UL, let's create a division. And let's give it a class of menu header. Now in this, let's create an anchor tag and let's give it a class of logo. And here let's type lb dot. Now you can add your logo over here. You can also add images by just creating an img tag inside this anchor tag. And the next thing we need to have is an icon to display these menus. So for that, let's create a division with a class of menu icon. Now in this we will add icons. So let's go to heroicons.com. Right here I'm in heroicons.com and let's search for menu. And here we have these icons. I'll just copy this icon from here. So let's click on copy SVG and let's paste the SVG over here inside this division. Now we also need to have a close icon. So when we click on this menu icon, we want the menu icon to be hidden and we want to display the close icon. So I'll just add both these icons inside a container division, and let's give it a class of icons. And I'll just cut the ending tag of this div from here, and let's paste it outside this div. And now let's go ahead and create another division. So let's give it a class of close icon, and in that we will add the close icon. So let's go back to heroicons.com and let's search for close, and here we have this icon. So let's click on copy SVG, and I'll just paste it over here. Alright, so that's it with heroicons.com, and now we can see we have this logo and we have this icon. We also have the close icon, and then we have these nav items over here. Now before styling this mobile version, let's scroll up and let's go to this selector where we are selecting the sub menu container, and here we are targeting mega menu container, and in that we have sub menu container. So if you go back to the HTML file, the mega menu container is the container division for the desktop and also the mobile version. Now we want to have a different styling for the mobile version, so I'll just change this mega menu container to just mega menu, so that this style will be applied only to the desktop version. So here we can see for the desktop version we have this class of mega menu. Right, now let's save this. Now let's go ahead and open the desktop version, and let's see whether we have any problems. And we don't seem to have any problem in the desktop version. So let's go back to the mobile version, and let's scroll down, and let's start with the styling. So the first thing we will do is we will style this menu header. So let's go ahead and select the menu and the close icons. So for that we have these classes of menu icon and close icon, which is inside this icons division. So here let's type menu header, icons, menu icon, and menu header, icons, close icon, and let's set the width of the icons to 28 pixels. Right, now let's target the container division, which is menu header. So here let's type menu header, and we'll set the display to flex so that the logo and the icons will be one next to the other. Now the icons are not being displayed, but we'll fix it later. First of all, let's go ahead and style this menu header. So let's go ahead and set a box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, -7 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0, and 0.3. Now if you scroll down, we can see that the menu also scrolls up. So we need to set the position to fixed. So I'll just type position fixed, and now we need to set the left to 0 and the right to 0 so that we have the correct width. And let's also add a background color, and let's set it to white, and we will set the top position to 0 as well. Right, now let's set the font size to 20 pixels. Let's set the font weight to bold. Now let's also add some padding. So I'll just type padding, and let's set the padding to 8 pixels top and bottom, and 16 pixels left and right. Right, now let's style the icons. So the icons are not being displayed, so let's see what's the problem. Here we have menu header, icons, menu icon, and menu header, icons, close icon. Let's go back to our HTML file, and here we have this typo in class name. We need to change this to icons. And now we can see that the icons are displayed. So let's go back to style.css file, and we need to have this logo on the left side and the icons on the right side. So here for menu header, let's also type justify content, and let's set it to space between. And now we can see that the icons are on the right side and the logo on the left side. Now what we need to do is we need to display just one of these icons at a time. So for that, let's go back to the HTML file, and when we want to display the icons, we'll just add a class of active. So by default we want the menu icon to be displayed, so I'll just add the active class over here, and we'll change the active class to the close icon and the menu icon using JavaScript. So let's go ahead and add some styles. Here I'll just target the container division, which is icons. So let's type menu header, icons, and let's set the position to relative. So now both these icons will be relative to this icons division. So here let's type position absolute. Let's set the top position to 0 and the right position to 0. And we'll also add some padding. So I'll just type padding, and let's set it to 2 pixels. And let's set the cursor to pointer. So when you hover over this, we have the pointer. and we'll also set the pointer events to none by default, and we'll also set the opacity to 0. And let's write the code for the active icon. So let's type menu header icons menu icon dot active, and we'll do the same for menu header icons close icon dot active. And when we have the active class, we need to set the opacity back to 1 and the pointer events to auto. Now we will have a smooth transition for this, so here let's tap transition, and let's set it to all 200 milliseconds ease. Right now here we can see that the submenus are being displayed over here, so let's go ahead and hide that. So if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have these divisions with the class of submenu container. So let's style this, and it is inside this mega menu mobile. So let's type mega menu mobile submenu container, and we'll set the height to 0, and we'll also set the overflow to hidden so that anything outside the height won't be displayed. So now we can see we have all the menu titles displayed over here. We don't have the submenu containers displayed. Now when we click on any of these menu titles, we need to display the submenu containers. So let's also add a transition so that we have smooth animation. So I'll just type transition, and let's set it to all 500 milliseconds ease. Now here we can see we have these plus icons for all the menu titles that have submenus. Now we'll just bring these plus icons to the right side. So if you go back to the HTML file, here we can see that for all the menus that have submenus, here we can see we have this class of has submenu. Now if you go back to the styles of the desktop version, and I'll just search for has submenu, and here we can see we are adding an after selector, and in that we are adding this plus icon. So let's go ahead and modify this in the mobile version. So I'll just scroll down, and let's type has submenu, and we'll just set the position to relative. And now let's target the after selector. So let's type has submenu after, and we'll set the position of this to absolute. Now we need to bring these plus icons to the right side. So let's tap top of 0 and right of 8 pixels. And now we can see we have these icons on the right side. I think we can change the top value a little bit. Let's try 12 pixels. And I think that looks alright. Let's also set the font weight to bold. Now let's also add a border bottom for all these list items. So if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have this UL, and in that we have these list items. So let's target that. I'll just type mega menu mobile, and in that we have UL, and in the UL we have LI. So let's go ahead and type border bottom, and let's set it to 1 pixel solid gray color. Right now let's target the UL, and let's position this correctly. So right now we can see that the home menu is below the menu header. So let's target that. Let's tap mega menu mobile, and let's target the UL, and let's set the position to fixed, and let's set the top position to 46 pixels, and let's set a background color of white, and let's set the left position to 0. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring these icons from the left side into the screen when we click on this menu icon. So by default, let's set transform translate X, and let's set it to negative, let's try 130%. And now we can see that the menus are not being displayed. Now let's add an active class for displaying the menus. So let's tap mega menu mobile ul.active, and let's set transform translate X to 0, and here we'll also add a smooth transition. So let's tap transition of all 300 milliseconds ease. Let's go back to our HTML file, and let's add an active class over here, and we will add and remove the active class in the JavaScript later. Now let's go ahead and set a max height. So let's type max height, and I'll just set it to calc 100 viewport height minus, and for this menu header we have a width of 46 pixels, so I'll just type 46 over here. This will be the max height of this element, and we also need to set overflow Y to auto, so that when the submenus are displayed, we will be able to scroll through them. Right now let's go ahead and style some of the elements of the submenu container. So here I'll just remove this height from here, and now we can see we have all the submenus displayed. So let's style these. The first thing we will do is we'll just remove these box shadows from here. So I'll just tap submenu. So if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have these divisions with the class of submenu. So I'll just tap box shadow, and I'll just type unset. And now we can see that the box shadows are not being displayed. Now for the first submenu, we can see that we have this class of call3, and let's go ahead and display all these items one below the other. So here I'll just type submenu call3, and let's set the flex direction to column. And here for the submenu, let's also remove the padding, and we'll also set a margin top of 0. And I think we can just delete this heading from here for mobile versions. So I'll just delete this S3, and now I think it looks good. So let's go ahead and style the image. So I'll just tap submenu call3 img, and let's set the height of the image to 160 pixels, and we'll set the object fit to cover so that we have the correct proportions. Right now let's style these headings. So for that we have H4. So let's target these H4s. So I'll just tap mega menu mobile H4, and let's set the margin to 8 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. And let's set the font size to 14 pixels. Now let's scroll down, and here we can see we have these headings. So if you go back to the HTML file and if you scroll down, here we can see these are S3s. So let's style these. Here I'll just type submenu S3, and let's set the font size to 15 pixels, and we'll set the font weight to normal, and let's set the margin to 0, and we'll also set a margin bottom, and let's set the margin bottom to 16 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Now the last thing is this AI art submenu. So for that we have this division with the class of call2. So let's style this. Here I'll just type submenu call2, and I'll just set a padding of 0, 16 pixels, and this is an S3, so let's type padding, and let's set it to 0, 16 pixels, and I think that looks alright. So we have all the submenus styled correctly. Now let's go back, and I'll just uncomment this height from here. Right now the last thing we need to do is we need to add some JavaScript to display these menus and also display the submenus when we click on these menu titles. So for that, let's go ahead and check whether we have added the JavaScript over here. So in the HTML file, we have already linked our JavaScript file. So let's go to our main.js file, and first of all, let's go ahead and reference all the elements that we need. So the first thing we will have are the LIs with a class of submenu. So here we can see for all the list items that has submenu, we have this class of has submenu. So let's target all these list items with the class of has submenu, and we also need to target the menu icon and the close icon, and then we also need to target the UL because we need to add and remove the active class. So right now I'll just remove the active class from here, and then lastly we also need to reference all these submenu container divisions. So let's go to our main.js file and let's reference all those elements. So let's type const, and I'll just name it all menus equals document.querySelector all, and here let's type mega menu mobile, and then we have li with the class of has submenu, and the next thing we need to reference is the menu icon. So let's type const menu icon equals document.querySelector mega menu mobile menu icon, and now let's select the close icon. So let's type const close icon equals document.querySelector mega menu mobile close icon, and now let's target the UL. So let's type const mobile menu equals document.querySelector, and let's type mega menu mobile UL, and then lastly we need to target all the submenu containers. So let's type const submenu containers equals document.querySelector all, and let's type mega menu mobile submenu container, Right now when we click on this menu icon, we need to display the UL and also the close icon. And when we click on the close icon, we need to display the menu icon and also hide the UL. So let's type menu icon dot add event listener and let's listen for the click event. And let's create an arrow function over here. And here we need to hide the menu icon. So let's type menu icon dot class list dot remove and let's remove the active class. And we need to add the active class to the close icon. So let's type close icon dot class list dot add active. And we need to add the active class to the UL as well. So let's type mobile menu dot class list dot add active. Right now let's click on this menu icon and we can see that the menus are being displayed and we also have the close icon displayed. Right now let's copy this and let's paste it down here and I'll just change this to close icon and here I'll just change this to menu icon. And here we need to remove the active class from mobile menu. So here I'll just type remove. Right now let's click on this menu icon and we have the menu displayed and also the close icon. And if I click on the close icon, the menu disappears and we have the menu icon displayed over here. Right now let's write the code to display the submenus when we click on these menu titles. So for that we have referenced these list items with the class of has submenu and we are storing them as all menus. So we need to loop through all these all menus and we need to add event listeners to all of them. So here let's type all menus dot for each and for each of the menus I'll just call it menu and let's create an arrow function. And here let's type menu dot add event listener and we will listen for the click event and let's create an arrow function over here. Now what we need to do is we need to access the submenu container which is inside these menus. So here we can see inside the LIs we have this division with the class of submenu container. So we need to access this division right here. So here I'll just type const submenu, I'll just call it submenu equals, and here we need to type menu dot query selector. So this will select all the elements inside this menu. And here let's type dot submenu container. And for displaying the submenus, I'll just create a division with the class of display submenu. And I'll just pass the submenu over here. And let's create the function right here. So let's type const display submenu. And we'll just get the submenu and I'll just call it submenu over here as well. Now here we need to set the height of the submenu. So let's type submenu dot style dot height equals, and I'll just add this inside backticks and let's type dollar symbol curly braces and here let's type submenu dot scroll height and then we need to add pixels. So this will set the height of the element to the height because right now it is set to 0 in the style.css file. So here we can see that we have set the height to 0 right now. Now this line of code will set the height to the actual height of the element. Right now let's test it out. So let's click on this menu icon and let's click on products. And here we can see that all the products are being displayed. And let's click on services and we can see that all the services are being displayed. And let's click on AI art and we can see that the AI art submenu is being displayed. Now if you click on this products and if I click on it once again, the submenu should collapse. So for that let's go ahead and here we will add a class. So I'll just type submenu dot class list and I'll just type toggle active. So once we click on this menu title, it will add this class of active, and if I click on it again it will remove the active class. And here let's add an if condition and let's type submenu dot class list dot contains and let's see whether we have the active class. And if we have the active class, then we will perform this line of code and I'll just return out of this function. And if the condition is false, then I'll just type submenu style dot height and I'll just set it back to 0 pixels and let's see whether it works. So let's go back over here and let's click on this menu icon and let's click on products and we have the products displayed. Let's click on products once again and it collapses. So everything is working alright. Now let's click on this close icon and it disappears. Now if I click on this menu icon once again, we can see that all these submenus are open. So the last thing I will do is when we click on this close icon, I'll just close all these submenus as well. So here for this close icon event listener, I'll just create a function called remove all active classes. And let's create the function over here. So let's type const remove all active classes. And here I'll just loop through all these submenu containers. So let's type submenu containers dot for each, and I'll just call each of them s. And let's create an arrow function, and here I'll just type s dot class list dot remove, and let's type active. And we also need to set the height back to 0. So let's type s dot style dot height equals, and let's set it to 0 pixels. And now let's click on this menu icon, and let's open these submenus. And now let's click on this close icon, and now if we click on this menu icon once again, we can see that all the submenus are now closed. So everything is working alright. And let's also open the desktop version, and let's see whether we have any problems in that. And here also we can see that everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can create a responsive mega menu using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So with that, we have completed designing this mega menu. Now I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video, and if you have any doubts you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.